What's up? That's the intro. Just the old one. I'm giving it a shot. I like the new one too, but it's long. This one's short. My name's Grant. That's Ben Meyerson. If you don't know Ben, I think you probably do, but Ben is a Cohn phone vet. He calls in on the weekends. He kills it. He's now part of the All 49ers SI team. He wrote his debut article for the website yesterday. I'm very proud to have him. Ben, how are you?
Well, I'm doing excellent, Grant. I had a great day yesterday, like I was telling you. So that was a lot of fun. And I got to give a shout out to all the people who've been supporting me too, because I was getting a lot of love online and I was really enjoying that. And thank you to you too, Grant, because people have talked about this before, but you are really giving people the platform to be able to pursue what they want to pursue. And I certainly know I'm a part of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And now today we're both here wearing gray sport coats and we look terrific. So let's talk here. If you don't know, Ben, yes, his debut article was terrific. And it was basically about why Trey Lance financially makes the most sense for the Niners to start. That's going to be our second topic, but it was such a good article. It really inspired me. I wanted to start a fight with Niner fans right off the bat, get your blood going a little bit. I put this out on Twitter a couple of hours ago just to get things rolling, but here's my new stance. Why the Niners have to trade Jimmy Garoppolo before the season starts. I didn't get here until you wrote the article because I forgot my rule of 13, the cap. I forgot it's like a January through April thing, and now we're into the next part of the year, and I forgot. But he's very expensive.
Yes,
and you do the background on the rule of 13.
So I'll just go over this for people. There's only been one or two times in NFL history when any team has won the Super Bowl and they've had one player making 12% or more of their salary cap.
Yeah.
And the only time that was actually done was with Tom Brady. And that
That's
was
right.
twice, in 2020 and 2018.
I think Steve Young did it in 1994. I think he was at 13. So Brady and Steve Young have done it. It's the anomaly. It's the anomaly.
But the point is that even within that, you have to be the greatest of the greatest to even accomplish that. So the point is that you need help on your team in order to succeed. And with Jimmy Garoppolo right now, he's at 13.5% of the 49ers salary cap for 2021. Right. So what the team has to make a decision with him to where they're going to have to say, like, can we win with Jimmy Garoppolo? Because personally, I think the answer is no. And I think the 49ers probably think that too, based on their actions. So if you come to that conclusion, then Jimmy Garoppolo can't be on this team in this year unless you're going to say to yourself, we're okay with not winning a Super Bowl this year. And just one more thing, Grant, when I was looking at all the top paid players in the NFL, Jimmy Garoppolo is the 11th highest paid player in the NFL. There are only 10 quarterbacks ahead of him. The next two players after him are like DeAndre Hopkins and Joey Bosa. So, for 49ers fans, if you want to justify this, hey, if you can tell me he's as valuable as any of those guys, great. But I don't think he is.
Okay, let me give you some numbers to put this guy in context. Because I think some Niners fans are going to be like, but they went to the Super Bowl 2 years with them making $20 million. Okay, 2 years ago, it's not the cap number, it's the cap percentage. What percentage of the pie are you taking up? 2 years ago, it was 8.6 for Jimmy. Which is reasonable. If he was at 8.6 right now, keep him. But he's not. He's at 13.5. And if he were to win the Super Bowl this year, he'd break the record for most cap percentage by a single player. Jimmy Garoppolo. So he might break that record. It's possible. But I think it's actually a very low likelihood. And I think the reason he's on this team is because people are saying, well, it's a Super Bowl roster. You got to have a vet. He took him to the thing, yada, yada, yada. The more I think about it from a financial perspective, he's going to be the reason they don't make it because he's too freaking expensive. And it's not just that there's this magic number that you can't cross. It's all relative. Why is it problematic for Jimmy to be making 13.5%? Let me list you some other quarterbacks who are making way less, all right? Let me start in the NFC. Taysom Hill. He's not better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's making 3.9% of the cap. Kyler Murray, 5.1%. He might be better than Jimmy. Right. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's okay. I mean, is he better than Jimmy? I don't know. 5.3%, and he's on a really good team. Jared Goff is pretty much Jimmy Garoppolo's doppelganger, 5.4%. And then the Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady, 5.8%. In what world is Jimmy Garoppolo going to win a Super Bowl at 13.5% while Brady's making 5.8%? And that's just the NFC. Ben, let me do the AFC real quick. Five guys in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, 1.7. Justin Herbert, 3.2%. Josh Allen, 3.7%. Patrick Mahomes, 4%. Still hasn't kicked in yet. And Baker Mayfield, 5%. So, yeah, man, Jimmy could do it, but the odds are way lower than you realize because of the financial reason.
Well, and if we're talking about it in this sense, Grant, do we really think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to help the 49ers beat the odds? I mean, I certainly don't believe in him in that aspect. And even if we're getting the best and the best of Jimmy, as we saw in 2019, he can only take this team so far. And then, like you pointed out perfectly, the team is going to be paying him even a higher percentage of the salary cap this year. So it's not like it's the same thing as 2019. He's 5% more expensive. That's more than what Patrick Mahomes is on the Chiefs salary cap from 2020. So you're absolutely right with this.
Yeah. And Trey says, why does his salary matter at this stage? We aren't getting anyone to help this team with him gone. We have many years with Trey in the future. No rush. Okay. Here's what I would do. I would let Trey Lance win the competition. So there's no controversy. Let him win it. I think he will. And then you trade Jimmy Garoppolo before the season starts to Houston. Trade him to Houston for whatever. Take a 6th round pick. Just make sure Houston takes the whole contract and nothing but the contract. And yes. So you send him to Houston, you get whatever in return. It doesn't matter. You're just dumping the contract. And then you can go out and get someone like Stephon Gilmore. Absolutely. There are people available. Absolutely, you can get 2 or 3 starters for the price of one Jimmy Garoppolo, and now your team is way better.
Exactly.
So,
and that's the part where I think 49ers fans get and I think it's a good thing to point out with what Trey was saying, which is that, what are you going to do with all this money that you're saving from Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, guess what? The 49ers, if I'm playing Trey Lance this year, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, Grant, but I want him to get his feet wet, and I want him to be in good playoff games, potentially in good competitive games, so that he gets good experience in his rookie season. And if you're putting him on an even better team and you get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo while you're doing that, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And the other thing I thought that was great that you mentioned was that you could trade him for anything at any point, because if you look with financially, if they trade him before week 1 of the season, they can still get most of that money, if not all, off the books. So let's say a team starter goes down, like the Vikings had that situation with Teddy Bridgewater a few years ago, right when they traded for Sam Bradford. Something like that could happen to where a team needs a quarterback 1 or 2 weeks before the season, and the 49ers could find themselves in a really great position.
Yeah, absolutely. Russo says, what exactly you giving the Patriots for Gilmore? A 2. They have a 2nd round pick. Yeah. Make the move. Get the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Why not? It just seems like
Jackson,
if you have
also, I mean, there's a number of guys who are available now and who will become available, because teams are going to have to make all these cuts with
Justin Houston, Everson Griffin, Malik Hooker. There's all kind of guys. I mean, they could have had Bashaud Breeland. They could upgrade the starting cornerback spot opposite Verrett. They could get a really good number 3 safety. Absolutely. They could get a really good number 3 wide receiver. There's so many things they could do. And Jimmy Garoppolo, just by getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think, I mean, again, he's here because he gives them a chance to win a Super Bowl, not at 13.5%. Jimmy should be making 5 to 7% of a salary. Yeah. He's right. He should be in the Ryan Fitzpatrick area. He's not.
Yeah. And Derek Carr, I think, is a great example of someone who's paid about $18 million per year, right? That's 8% of the salary cap. That's something that would be livable for the 49ers, like you said, with 2019. But with that percentage being so high, I mean, there are literally only 10 quarterbacks who are paid more than Jimmy Garoppolo this upcoming year. That's insane. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And again, the whole thing that Jimmy Garoppolo gives the Niners a chance to win a Super Bowl this year is probably a fallacy. You got to look at the financials of it.
Thinking. I mean,
he's too expensive.
It would
the cap went down. He's too expensive.
Yeah, it would be financially improbable at best, right? And even when I think about that, I think there's probably like a 5% maybe chance that it all goes right and they even make the Super Bowl.
Everyone has to say
then. I don't believe that that's how things would happen.
I don't think this team is as deep as it was 2 years ago. It doesn't have the bench it had 2 years ago. Why? Because of Jimmy. Because he's making more money, and they've Kittle's making more money than he was 2 years ago. A lot of people are making more money than they were. Armstead making more money, but Jimmy's making 20, almost 27. So I don't think they have the depth that they had 2 years ago. I think if they could get rid of Jimmy, they could replenish that depth. They could actually have the roster they think they have. So think about it, guys. I know you want Trey to earn it. Fine. As long as you get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and get a couple of, because you can always add players before the trade deadline. Just get Gilmore eventually.
Oh, yeah. Well, and even if you don't want a Stephon Gilmore, a guy like J.C. Jackson he's like 26, 27, 28 years old. So that's a guy, even if 49ers fans are like, oh, what does it do for us this year? You could get guys who you could sign to 2-3 year contracts at positions like the cornerback where the 49ers don't have guys signed down the line. So you can, like you said, trade for guys even before the deadline and just pick your spot to where you can get almost any type of guy you want when he becomes available.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of people in the comment section being mad, saying that this doesn't make any sense. I'm telling you, this whole thing with quarterbacks and how much money they make, it's kind of the holy grail of the NFL. It explains a lot. It explains a whole lot. And with Jimmy Garoppolo trying to set a record this year as the highest paid guy ever win a Super Bowl, I wouldn't bet on that.
He'd be even higher than Tom Brady was. That's the thing. Even that percentage that Tom Brady was at was 12.5% or 12% when he did it.
Yeah.
So Jimmy would be beyond what anyone has ever done before, which is just something I can't fathom.
Right. So your question is, are you more likely to win a Super Bowl with a veteran who's making 13.5% of the cap or a rookie? A rookie. Even though a rookie's never done it, well, you're also talking about, well, no one's ever won it at 13.5% of the cap either. So either one is an anomaly, but at least, I mean, if you show in training camp that Trey Lance is right there and he's as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's 15 times cheaper or whatever, then it's a no-brainer. Anyway, I think we should move on and get to the other side of the coin. Why Trey Lance gives the 49ers their best chance to win in 2021. We just laid it out with Jimmy, but let's lay it out with Trey. He hasn't signed his contract yet.
No.
When he does, his cap number for 2021 will be somewhere between 3 and 5.
So I actually looked up something, Grant, because I wanted to go back to last year's draft with Jeff Okudah. He was the third overall pick from last year. He signed a 4-year, $33 million deal. Trey's is going to be 4 years, $34 million.
Right.
And his cap percentages, I was just looking at this. It's 2.8 in his first year, 3.9 in his second year, 4.5 and 4.5 in years 3 and 4.
That sounds right. Sounds right. Yep.
When we're talking,
he'll be right around 3. Right around 3 his first year. Okay.
Exactly.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It allows you to extend players in the future. Next season, just next offseason alone, they're going to have to extend guys like Bosa, guys like Debo, guys like Greenlaw. They're all going to be up for contracts. So this team is going to have some kind of financial flexibility in the future if they want to keep this championship team around that they have, right? So if you're trying to do that, perfect way to do that is to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and bring on a guy who's making less than 5% of the salary cap. And then I think the thing with this too is Trey Lance doesn't even have to play that well to have his worth pay out. Now, 49ers fans might get a little nervous, but even if he's at a like Baker Mayfield type of playing level, you can still really succeed with that level of quarterback on that percentage of the salary cap because you're not paying the guy like any amount of money. And when that's the most important position and guys are paid so high on other teams, it means you can distribute that salary cap percentage out to other positions that you might need help at, like corner or wide receiver 3 or offensive line again, or defensive line. It gives you all these other options to where you don't have to be hamstrung like the 49ers were in the 2019 offseason where they had to say goodbye to DeForest Buckner because they couldn't make the numbers work.
Right.
Now with Trey Lance, they can make all the numbers work, and they can probably extend every player they want to extend and have the option of recouping draft picks for the picks they traded away for Trey Lance. So I think it's a win-win situation for the 49ers overall.
Yeah, I mean, if they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, trade him, and then spend the money they would have been spending on him on 2 or 3 other starters who are high-quality players, then the team improves, and Trey Lance, who is better than Jimmy or just as good as Jimmy if he wins the competition, doesn't have to be great to win a Super Bowl. No. He has to be good. Yeah. Jimmy making 13.5% has to be great. He has to be super duper great, and he's not. No. He's good at best. I mean, he's serviceable sometimes. He's unreliable. I mean, no, that's the whole beauty of this rookie wage scale. You don't have to have a great quarterback. You have to have a good one. A good one.
And that's the thing, too. Yeah. I think that's the main thing. You don't have to be great early on in your career. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson. I mean, the point of this is that the 49ers, by hopefully if Trey plays this year, which I think to me is the best case scenario out of everything, obviously, with the QBs, is if you get his feet wet and you're able to build a great team around him because you've offloaded Jimmy Garoppolo, then you're really talking about a serious Super Bowl window for the next 2 to 4 years. That's the thing where I kind of have a disconnect with some 49ers fans to where they think, oh, this is our Super Bowl year this year. I'm like, this isn't the year to do it. The next 2 to 4 years is what they should be targeting. And I think that's why Trey Lance is perfect for this team, because he fits that timeline perfectly.
Agree. But let's focus on this year too. I still feel that Lance gives him the best chance to win this year because, again, I mean, I like to reduce it all to this financial thing.
Right.
I feel like in 2021, how do you really expect to win a Super Bowl paying more than 10% of your cap to a quarterback when Mahomes is making 4% and Brady's making 5.8? Those were the two guys in the Super Bowl last year, the two of the best quarterbacks in the league. You gotta be right around them. You can't be much past them. Otherwise, you're saying that your team is way better than the Bucks, way better than the Chiefs. It's not. So you got a problem right there. Look at the Seahawks. They're spending 17% of their cap on Russell Wilson. I don't take them seriously. Look at the Packers. They're spending 20% of their cap on Aaron Rodgers. I just can't take them seriously. So the Niners, you got a lot of promise, but compare yourself to the Chiefs and Bucks. I don't know. Even the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in a really good spot, not having to pay very much for Kyler Murray.
Well, and if you just look at all the playoff teams last year, right? I was looking at the divisional round specifically, and I mentioned this in the article that I wrote, is that 4 of the 8 teams that were in those final 8 all had quarterbacks on the rookie wage scale. So the point is that you can build a good enough team around these sort of guys to where you can succeed early on in their careers before you extend them. Because I think people have this notion that, especially with how fast things have changed at the quarterback position, people need to wrap their minds around the idea that young quarterbacks can win and they can succeed early on in their career if they're set up for success.
Right.
And I think Trey could be set up for success if we're able to offload Jimmy Garoppolo and reap the financial flexibility that he allows us to have in the future. You mentioned all the names that, Stephon Gilmore, he's available right now, but even if the team was to wait to do this for one season and wait till next off season, right, they would be able to reload in free agency and really assess their team and say, okay, we saw what Trey was able to do in his first year. We understand what we need to do to help him succeed, and we're going to put more players around him that can help him do that. That's where I think, for the 49ers, fans should be really optimistic. It's the next 2 to 4 years. That's key. And I keep saying this because I just don't think they're going to have that opportunity to win this year with all their injury history, with just everything that's gone on this offseason with the 49ers and with the shift from one quarterback to the next. I don't think it's realistic to expect a Super Bowl in 2021. So I'm thinking about 2022, 2023, 2024, because with Trey, I just can't emphasize this enough. It gets you so much flexibility in the future.
Yeah, and I'm not writing off 2021 either. And I think that the thing about it is, I feel like Jimmy's just a poor fit behind this offensive line in particular. If Jimmy's going to be successful, he needs to be cheaper, and he needs to be behind great pass protection because he's slow. Well, he's not mobile at all. And he's a slow decision maker. So I just think he's a terrible fit behind this offensive line. Why does he keep getting hurt? Because the Niners don't prioritize pass protection. He's a slow decision maker, and he can't move. Trey Lance is going to actually avoid a lot of these hits and sacks that Jimmy Garoppolo takes. I think he's a much better fit, and he's going to make that entire offensive line look better.
Well, and I'll talk more about the offensive line later, but the one thing I wanted to touch with them is last year they were second in PFF run blocking grade, right? So they were a good run blocking team, but then their pass grade was 24th in the league. So we understand where this team's weaknesses are. And I think hopefully with the Trey offense, they're going to be running the ball even more to where they won't be put in pass protection. So you're right. It's going to absolutely work out better for Trey Lance with this offensive line. And I think the running game that they added, I think it's going to be really interesting to see.
The Mex says, big question. What percentage of Super Bowl wins were with a rookie contract quarterback? Well, the whole rookie contract phenomenon started in 2011. Right. So not many. Mahomes and Russell Wilson. But every year it seems like it's Tom Brady against a guy on a rookie contract. Every year. Is it not?
I mean, and I want to make sure I list this out for people because I mentioned the 4 out of the 8 teams earlier. The Ravens, the Bills, the Browns, and the Chiefs. All guys on the rookie quarterback's wage scale. So you can have an elite team. That's the thing that I don't feel like people have wrapped their minds around yet, is the idea that it doesn't matter how young your quarterback is, because when you have a young quarterback, you can build one of the best rosters in the NFL around them.
Jaeger 805, that's a good question. Doesn't Jimmy have a no trade clause? Yes. So here's the thing. I think it's in his interest not to exercise it. Say the Niners get the Texans to take the whole contract. That's good for Jimmy, because that contract is great for him. It's so lucrative, and he can't get that on the open market. So if he turns it down and says, I'm exercising my no trade clause, and then I said, well, we got to cut you instead of getting the 6th round pick in return for you. Now you go on the open market and you're getting nothing.
Maybe.
So I don't think it's in his interest to exercise that.
No, I don't think it is either. That's the thing with Jimmy, is it's in his best interest to get on another team as soon as possible and prove his worth, because I don't think he's going to have the opportunity quite to do that on the 49ers. So
with that theory, will Mahomes never win beyond 23? It'll be hard. He is one of the great quarterbacks, so it'll give him a chance, but they seem like they're going to keep renegotiating his deal. Absolutely. So who knows? If they keep pushing it down and lowering the cap hit that year, they're always going to be in it. I think it was supposed to go up this year, and they renegotiated it. So they're back in business. Let's see how they do business. I think I missed a couple more.
Well, and with Mahomes, I think he's going to be the ultimate test of this theory. So it'll be really interesting to see how worse that Chiefs team is in a few years because of how much they'll be paying him.
Trade Jimmy G. What team would even want him? Houston. The reason I say Houston is their GM, Nick Caserio, drafted Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
They don't – I mean, if Deshaun Watson doesn't play this year, they don't have a quarterback. Their top guy is Davis Mills, who played 8 games in college. They're not in win now mode. They can afford to pay Jimmy Garoppolo.
Taylor, Grant. Come on.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's so good. But I mean, they could justify spending all that money because they know they're not going to the Super Bowl. They're they're just spending that money for stability and, whatever. So Houston.
I think another team could be, let's say Denver gets to the beginning of the season and one of their quarterbacks gets hurt. That's the thing to where I'm just wait until right before week 1 of the season and one quarterback has to get hurt. That's all that has to happen to where a team is going to jump on Jimmy.
Right. So, I mean, we're hearing, first of all, the last OTA I went to, Lance got 18 throws, Jimmy got 6. I was thinking, okay, so they're getting Lance ready. They're saying that he's learned the whole offense. They've installed the whole offense. He's ready to compete. Okay, if he takes his job from Jimmy, is Jimmy? They're going to pay all that money for Jimmy to be the backup. They're going to continue breaking him off $3 million a game, $2 million a game, so he can hold the clipboard. I don't think so. I think they go, if Trey Lance wins, they'll get rid of Jimmy, and it'll be Trey Lance 1, Rosen 2, Nate Sudfeld 3, and that's a really good, cheap quarterback room.
Absolutely. And I think the only other guy I would be a little mad about is why didn't they talk to Nick Mullins or maybe figure something out with that? I think that would have been interesting, especially bringing in a guy who's so knowledgeable about the playbook with a rookie. I
would have rather kept Mullins than Sudfeld.
Right. And that's the thing to where he separates himself from Jimmy, right? So maybe they should have brought Mullins back, but even then, like you're saying, they're going to have such a cheap quarterback room, it shouldn't even matter anyways.
Okay, so that's our spiel. Ben and I think about this a lot, the financials of quarterbacks. Yeah. I think it's really important because everyone's like, you have to have this level of play. Well, it's all relative to what they're making against the cap. I will always feel like
you have a lower level of play when your cap percentage is lower. That's what I was harping on earlier, is that Baker Mayfield is able to be successful with the Browns, but he's not like a top 10 quarterback. I think that's pretty clear.
And why is Washington content with Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because he's good at his price point. You can win with him at that price point, and they have a hell of a team. If they went for a more expensive quarterback, they'd have to start taking away other pieces, which they don't want to do. I'm with him. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. All right, let's move on.
I do too.
Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. He is not with the 49ers right now because Kyle Shanahan, he told everyone to leave. He was like Willy Wonka. No one comes in, no one comes out. It's just me and the Oompa Loompas. Okay, fair enough. So Trey Lance is in Atlanta with Mohamed Sanu working out, also with Trey Lance's personal throwing coach, Quincy Avery. What do you think of what he's doing right now?
Yeah, so I think going back to something you said a few times in your last streams and said, I think at least once or twice in this one, is now that Trey Lance has the full offense under himself and that he's been able to gather and absorb it, I think this is the perfect type of thing that Trey should be doing right now, given that the 49ers aren't practicing, right? So this is going back to something you were saying even earlier in the offseason, which is that Trey has things he needs to work on mechanically. And there are some things to where he needs to improve at them. And Jesse Naylor's done a really good job of covering the fact that he did have things even going back to his pro day that he was struggling with. But if you look at his progression throughout OTAs, throughout the workouts with Quincy Avery, like we're just talking about, it seems like he's improving at these sorts of things. So what I'm excited about now is that if he has the full offense under his belt and he's able to go to Quincy Avery and get better at what he needs to get better at, he can absolutely start for the 49ers early on. You've been talking about week 1 over and over, but I'm not even mad at a scenario where he's starting week 8, week 9 of the season. I think the point is that we want to get Trey as much experience as possible early on, but we don't want to harm him. And the thing with harming him is that if he's not ready yet and you put him in like Tua was last season, that can create a really negative impact for your quarterback. So by doing what he's doing with Quincy Avery, by working out the kinks in his game, by getting better at the things he needs to get better at, he's setting himself up for success. And that's the stuff I love to see. Like I think you harped on the Las Vegas trip a little bit, but even then, like you said, you can't say no to George.
I was trying to be give big brotherly advice. Right. I wasn't trying to come down because honestly, I would have done the same thing at 21. And I'm just saying, like, I'm 33, man. And I cover this team. I'm just trying to give you advice, but I would have done the same thing. Are you kidding? Yeah. I do the same thing now. If Kittle invited me now at 33, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. I'll risk it all, man. Absolutely.
You go to a weekend with Kittle in Vegas?
Yeah, I'd risk it all.
Oh yeah, you're doing all this tight end you stuff. You, him, and Kelsey taking selfies together. The whole 9. But no, seriously, with Trey, the exciting thing is that like he is going to be getting better at these things, and he does seem driven in that way to where he's not going to just be complacent with what he's working at. And now I know people get a little worked up about all this stuff because they're like, oh, he's just putting stuff on Instagram, all of this and that. But it's important to actually go out and self-assess and understand what you're doing wrong. I think you and I have talked maybe once or twice about this, Grant, but in every profession, it goes that you need to look at what you're doing right and look at what you're doing wrong and be able to improve what you're doing wrong and just get better at whatever aspect you're weak in. So with Trey, that's just what I hope he's doing now. And if he is doing that, then great, because I think that just means he's starting sooner rather than later.
Well, you started off by saying they can't play him before he's ready. So I think this is, they handled it right. They couldn't get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo on draft night. They can't get rid of him before training camp because Jimmy has a history on this team and a lot of the players believe in him and like him, even though they know he's getting phased out and that it'll be Trey's team eventually. So I think what's great about what Trey has done in the spring, what he's doing right now is he's making sure that he's in position to actually have the freaking competition when training camp starts. So he's doing everything that he needs to do. He's going to be ready. He's learning the offense. He's working on his mechanics. He's doing everything to be ready. And if he wins the competition, then the Niners can do what they need to do, which is trade Jimmy Garoppolo, free up the cash, get more players, get the future on the field, because I'm not certain that Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Trey Lance right now.
I'm not either. And that's the thing that I get back to more than anything is how much of a difference is Jimmy Garoppolo between Trey Lance? And if Trey Lance is even close to what Jimmy is in practice with 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s, and I talked about this with Rob Shue on my channel last night, they're close in practicing, like in terms of passing drills. No question Trey Lance should be the starter. I think it's all the last part of this is going to just be the team and coach buying into the fact that Trey is the starter. Once the team buys into it, then it's already the horse has already left the stable, right? It's already out of everyone's hands.
And Trey Lance isn't going to be perfect at the beginning. He's going to be a work in progress, and he's going to miss some throws. I see him do it. He's like a young Randy Johnson, a young Nolan. He misses some throws, but all the ways that he's going to expand the offense, the run game is going to be better. He's going to be able to throw outside the numbers. He's going to be able to throw deep. He's going to be able to extend plays. All that is absent from the Niners offense right now. The Niners pass game, first of all, the quarterback doesn't help the run game. It's a run-first offense with a quarterback who doesn't help it. Yeah. Okay. Now, then when you get to the pass game, no bootleg, no pocket movement, no throws outside the numbers, no throws deep, nothing off schedule. If the ball's in the quarterback's hands for more than 2.5 seconds, the Niners are screwed now. So I feel like you can live with a couple errant throws every game if it means you can stretch the field in all ways. You can extend plays. Kyle doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, I mean he's not going to be his peak self, but I still think whatever he is now probably is more beneficial for the offense than whatever Jimmy Garoppolo is now.
Well, and we've seen how prone Jimmy is to turnovers and to making mistakes. Like, how much of a difference?
Someone in here
really
said it's his 5th year on the team and he plays like it's his first.
Yep. And this is like quote unquote Jimmy's, first full off season. Like, it's just frustrating with Jimmy because I just don't understand right now how anyone can legitimately argue that they know he's better than Trey Lance at this moment. You don't. And I think if the passing is even close, this is what I harp on. If the passing is even close because of all the athleticism he creates and the electricity that he's going to add to this team, he's going to be so much better for this team and they'll win more games with him.
I love how he's taking the bull by the horns. Trey, right. It doesn't seem like he's taking any days off. Okay, you cancel mini camp. I'm taking Mohamed Sanu and we're working out with my guy. It seems like, and it's like, it's being documented. Everyone on the Niners is kind of like hanging back like, oh snap, he might do it. You never hear about Jimmy. It's not like, hey, Jimmy is in Chicago with Jawan Jennings. No. Well, I don't know what's going on. It's like, it doesn't matter, man. Jimmy, just chill. Don't get hurt. But it's all about Trey. And you just sit back and watch with the rest of us as he gets going. It seems like this guy's getting fast forwarded and Jimmy's out of the picture.
Well, and the thing I like, and we'll talk about this a little later, but with Kyle, he's specifically not putting pressure on Trey. But it seems like Trey's putting pressure on himself. And that's what I like. He's putting himself, like you said, in a position to where if he can compete for that starting job, which it seems like that's what it's going to be, then he'll be in the best position possible. And that's what
It feels like the competition has started already. Not on the field, but the competition for preparation.
Right.
Who can get ready? And also who leads this team? It seems like everyone's trying to hang out with Trey right now. Anyway, I think we should probably move on. But what I want to say to wrap this up is Trey's doing everything right. Yeah. He's putting himself in great position to take this job. Now he's got to go take it. He's going to have to take a job from a 29-year-old man. That's not easy, but he can do it. He can do it.
And real quick, this is the second workout he's done with the 49ers guy. He did it with Brandon Ayuk earlier in the offseason. So he's definitely getting involved with all these players.
He's wasting zero time. I can't say what Jimmy Garoppolo is doing. Steven Hernandez, what's up, Steven, says, if Jimmy leaves, which I highly doubt, it'll be Rosen, Lance, and anyone but Sudfeld, to be honest. I think last year Def was a fluke. Let's talk about it. No, I think what I'd like to do is just put Sudfeld on the freaking practice squad.
Yeah.
And just have two quarterbacks. Because if someone takes Sudfeld, like, oh my God, okay. So
Josh Johnson's still available.
Yeah, he is. Hold on. Wait, there was one more. Hold on. No, that's not it. My bad. Hold on. That's not it either. Wait a second.
I'll try and help you out here.
Nah, it was a $2 suck after Steven. Where you at? Oh, here we go. Prince. Trade Jimmy. Need cap space. Next year badly. Yeah. That's what we're trying to say. All right. Kyle Shanahan went on podcast recently. What were your takeaways from his interview?
So the main thing that I want to take away from this is that he said that he wouldn't give Trey Lance, and he didn't exactly say it this way, but he essentially said that he wouldn't give Trey Lance the Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers treatment of sitting him for a year just to sit him, which is what I love to hear. I think what Kyle understands, and what I've been preaching this entire show, is that with Trey, you need to get him as much experience early on as possible. And especially if you can get Trey playing in a playoff game or even two his rookie season, that's the kind of thing to where he's going to learn from that and be able to come back to the playoffs the next couple of years after that and be really successful. So when Kyle Shanahan says that, oh, we're not going to put him through the experience of sitting a rookie just to sit a rookie, man, that's great news to me, because that means that Kyle understands that Trey hasn't played a lot of football in a while. He was last playing in 2019. Even when he wasn't throwing the ball that much. So I just don't understand this mentality that some people have of like, oh, Patrick Mahomes needed to sit for a year behind Alex Smith and this and that. Like I've seen Vish mention, and I'm not going to pretend like this is an original take, Patrick Mahomes would have been freaking awesome no matter what. So if Trey Lance is that dude and we can get him that experience early on and we think he's as good as the 49ers think he is, then hell yeah, he should be playing as early as possible. And I love Kyle saying that he's not just going to give him this treatment just to do it. That's what's really exciting to me about that Kyle interview, among, the stuff where he was like, oh, he could be the starter in the future. That's really exciting, of course, too.
Also, there's a difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Alex Smith.
Yes.
Alex Smith at that point was durable, reliable, good. I mean, the year his last year in Kansas City, he led the league in quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Also, he was not as expensive as Jimmy Garoppolo. His last year in Kansas City, his cap percentage was 9.9, which is up there, but not too big. I mean, they didn't need to run him out. They could have played Patrick Mahomes right away. They decided not to, and Alex Smith still gave him a great chance to win. He didn't stop them from winning. So
no,
it's a different situation. Jimmy is expensive. He's injury prone.
Right.
I think he's a problem. I think he was okay in 2019, but this is a different situation.
And the other thing that people, I feel like I saw, so I didn't get to listen to the full pod because it's behind a paywall, but I've been reading all the articles people have been saying about it. And one thing I feel like people aren't talking about enough is that Kyle was saying, oh, this team, or he was talking about teams giving up trades, multiple first-round picks, right? He talked about how Jalen Ramsey, Jamal Adams, within their own division, teams are trading tons and tons of picks for players. So he was saying that, even going back to 10 years ago, this is something he wouldn't have considered back with the Washington football team and all that kind of stuff, right? But now that he sees what all these teams are doing now for guys who are even at the quarterback position, now that he's seen teams give up all this draft capital, yeah, if you go get Trey, it doesn't necessarily matter what the compensation is. Like the one thing to where I think people get a little lost with this issue is I don't know how much the Chiefs gave up to move up for Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how much the Bills gave up to move up to Josh Allen. It's not as much. No. But the point being is that if Trey is good enough, he'll justify what the 49ers gave up.
That's true.
So
that's true.
It's not going to matter in the long run if Trey is successful, right?
No, and again, like he's not necessarily a sure thing the way Jalen Ramsey and Jamal Adams were, but he has the potential to be the biggest asset in football, which is a good quarterback on a rookie scale. Right. And what I think teams are learning is while there is value in slow playing a quarterback and developing him, you don't want to waste too much of that rookie contract. Maybe 1 year tops. You don't want to do the Aaron Rodgers thing. And that was before the rookie scale back in the day. Absolutely. I mean, 3 years, you just wasted it. And now when he finally gets on the field, you get 1 season to determine whether he's worth the big extension. Then you give it to him and he's expensive. So, yeah, you want him on the field ASAPolous. That's a word. ASAPolous. So you can actually reap the benefits of of the bargain that you're getting at the most important position in sports.
Because the sooner you play him, the sooner you're able to justify all the picks and the draft capital.
And again, he doesn't have to be great right away. He's cheap. No. You can load up the team and make things easy on him.
He just has to be a top 15 to top 20 sort of quarterback in the NFL. And I don't even think that's hard, given that I think Jimmy is probably like maybe a top 20 guy. And I would put him outside of there, but people would put him inside the top 20. So I think with Trey, like he just has to be a certain level of successful for him to justify all that we've given up.
Yeah. And again, it's like if he's as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, send Jimmy Garoppolo packing because of the difference in financials. This guy wanted me to put it's the second time I put it on the screen. He said I didn't address it. It's not a question. So I'm telling you, if you give me a super chat, I appreciate it. But if it's not a question, I'll put it on the screen. What do you want me to say? You want me to read it out loud? You want me to react to it? Give me instant reaction? Oh my God. All right, man. If it's evident Kyle started hating Mullins after his play last year. I don't know. If you say so, I don't know. I don't know.
I think Kyle, more than anything, probably loves the mind of Nick Mullins. And that's where I go back to with Jimmy versus him on this team this year. It'd be more beneficial to have that kind of mind with Trey Lance so he can learn what Kyle wants, the tendencies of the offense, and all these other things that Nick Mullins is really going to help him with.
I get the feeling more that the locker room turned on Mullins, that they threw him under the bus and been like, we would be winning if it wasn't for you. Okay, so we'll see about that. I think Kyle stuck with Mullins a lot longer than the locker room did, I think. Probably. But anyway, why were the 49ers so secretive about the number 3 pick? We keep going back to this topic. I know it's old news, but it's interesting, like a peek into the psyche and the business practices of the 49ers. The point is that everyone knew, basically, that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are going 1-2. There was no reason to really create a smokescreen at number 3, considering they had their pick, and they did anyway. A major smokescreen. So why'd they do it?
I think the reason they kept it so secretive is because it's in their. I don't think it's in their interest to give up any information beforehand. Like, if the team had ruled out Mac Jones as an option, well, guess what? That means everybody else is going to start flocking to the next two options. They're going to start eliminating choices. So that's where I get a little like fired up with this, is that why would they tell people anything? I mean, from everything that we know, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan knew about this pick for a certain amount of time, and the next person to find out was Jed, and it was like a week before the draft. So when all these rumors started flying out, it to me, it makes sense that they wouldn't shut down any of the rumors, because if they did, that would confirm one thing or the other, right? If they aren't taking Mac Jones, it would narrow down the options. So that's where I just don't understand, like Mike Florio's of the world. They get all worked up about, oh, the 49ers were so secretive about this. They fooled everybody. They didn't have to do this. They lied to the national media. It's like, no, I think what happened is they probably just didn't exactly go out of their way to tell the national media what was happening. And once they made, I mean, literally the day they made the trade, Chris Sims, like 20 minutes later, was like, oh, they're going to take Mac Jones. I don't think he called Kyle Shanahan within those 20 or 30 minutes, or anyone in the 49ers organization. So there was probably a bit of guessing on the national media's part, and they got burned this year. And
I don't think so, man.
You don't
I'm sorry. So? Let's talk about Schefter.
No,
okay. Yeah, Schefter doesn't guess.
Schefter is the big thing.
Schefter doesn't guess. Schefter got it wrong. He didn't get it wrong with the Jets. He was all over Zach Wilson on the Jets the whole time.
Right.
And it's like, I just feel like what the Niners did, it would be like if the Jets just messed with Schefter and be like, hey, don't tell anyone, but we're taking Trey Lance.
Right.
Write it. I'm not saying the Niners did that, but Schefter wasn't guessing. Mike Silver wasn't guessing. These guys all have the sources, and their sources were wrong. I don't know who the sources were, but it's very interesting. It's like if the Jaguars had just let everyone think they were going to take Zach Wilson for a month, or if the Jets just let everyone think they were going to take Trey Lance for a month. Like, why? Just to mess with people? And then the Niners, what Kyle Shanahan said is like, yeah, just to mess with people, basically. Yeah.
Well, and that's where I think Kyle's lying. I don't think that's exactly what he was trying, but I think more than anything, just going back to what I was saying, I just don't think it's in their best interest to let anybody know that, oh, we've eliminated this person as a choice and we're down to these two options.
It just seems like they took it a step further and helped create the perception,
right,
that it not only that it was going to be someone it wasn't. Not that there's, hey, we're just not going to say, but for whatever reason, the top dudes in the game were like adamant that it was going to be someone it wasn't. And that's just very interesting to me. I know Florio's the one complaining. Schefter would never complain publicly. He's above it, but no. I'm sure he's like, wait, why did this happen to me? Why?
Yeah,
but it's interesting.
And like you're saying, I mean, Schefter has the best connections to the 49ers organization. I mean, the people who had like the best connections to this organization in terms of media were all saying the same thing. So no question. There was like, this is what it's gonna be. Well, and
they're like, I know it's not the right move, but it's gonna happen. Like, okay.
Well, okay. And even going back to the whole Trey Lance thing, I think the only time reports even came out about him potentially being the pick, like seriously, were 3-4 days before the draft. So I think when I take all of it into consideration, I feel like more than anything, the team just didn't want to go out of their way to tell the media they were wrong, because then because you just don't want to eliminate your options. I don't think they had this mastermind plan. I think things just happened and they were a bit reactionary, and I don't know. I just feel like with Schefter, he wasn't guessing. And that's what I keep coming back to. He heard something from someone he trusted. Yeah. And so how did he get it so wrong? I still will always believe that there was a split in the Niners organization. There was a Matt camp, there was a Trey camp, and whoever Schefter and those guys were talking to, they were talking to the Matt camp, and it lost out. It lost out. So did the Niners create a mystery? Yeah, because it was a mystery to them. It was a freaking mystery to them. So fine, they created their own smokescreen, and it was real. It was real. But Grant, let me ask you this: do you think there's any benefit to them revealing the mystery or revealing any part? Because that's kind of what I get back to.
No, but to me, like, the Jets were the ones, like, no one really knew who the Jets were going to take, but they didn't mislead people.
No,
they were just like, we don't have to say. We don't have to say. I mean, is it Zach Wilson?
Yeah, but I think to be fair with the Jets versus the 49ers, there was definitely more of an argument with who the 49ers should pick than who the Jets should pick. I think I think before, or a month before the draft, 6 weeks before the draft, it was pretty clear the Jets were going to take Zach Wilson.
I like the Niners pick better than the Jets pick. Sorry, Salah. I like the Niners pick. I don't really like Zach Wilson that much. But anyway, we need to move on.
Yeah, we do.
But I like Trey Lance better than – I think they probably should have taken Trey Lance in New York. Mufasa says, as good as Justin Herbert was, Mufasa, it's great to see you, man. You took a tumble early on, but you came back and you lived with us forever.
And it's
Mufasa
great
says
to see you back.
Absolutely. You really changed all of our lives. As good as Justin Herbert was, they still had a losing season. Will Kyle risk yet another losing season starting Lance? Well, it's not like the Chargers are that great. I mean, the Niners team is better than the Chargers team.
Well, and the Chargers also weren't planning to play Justin Herbert. I mean, if people remember correctly, Tyrod Taylor got stabbed in the lung by an injection, and then they had to play.
That's real. That really happened.
For the games. I mean, I think,
and they didn't have the best coach either. Nothing against Anthony Lynn.
No, Anthony Lynn, he's not a head
Don't
coach
think he's the best head coach. Good coordinator.
Oh, definitely. And I think with Justin Herbert, especially like with this thing specifically, it's like he didn't even know until like 5 minutes before the game. He literally said the coach grabbed him, was like, "You're starting, get in the game right now." And he had to go and find his helmet because he said he wasn't even anticipating that being an option. So I think it's just a completely different scenario.
Okay, Keith just donated $20 and has a good question. Let's humor him and give him a good answer. Yeah, okay. Who will be the leaders of this team this year? 2 offense, 2 defense. I love this question. Where do you want to start? Defense?
Let's
defense
start with
is
offense.
Easier. Okay, let's go offense.
Yeah, because I thought of one guy immediately. It's got to be George Kittle, right? He is, I think, one of the leaders on this offense.
I don't think of him as a leader. I think of him as the. I love George Kittle, and he's like the emotional. He brings the juice. He fires them up.
Heartbeat.
He's the heart of the team.
Yeah,
he's the heart of the team, but he's like a giant kid out there, and that's cool. I mean, he plays his role, but I don't really. I guess it's a slight distinction. I would think more of like the Joe Staley was kind of a leader, a little bit more stoic, a little bit more stoic.
But how many guys do the 49ers have like that on their offense this year? I think that's kind of what I get.
Well, let me make an argument on the offense. Yeah. First of all, it always has to be the quarterback. If it's not your quarterback, it has to be Trey Lance. Has to.
Okay. You see, I just didn't consider that because of what's going to be going on this year. But I think if we're talking about it, it's got to be a quarterback. You're right.
Got to be a quarterback. And then I would say Alex Mack.
That's where I was going to go next.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He's got to be – we'll talk about, this later on because I have a lot to say about the offensive line. But I think he's really going to add stability to this offensive line. And more than anything, that's what they need. So, yeah. On defense, though.
Yep. So Mack and cheese. Mack and Lance. With Kittle he's not a leader. They look up to him. He provides the energy, but he's the heart. He's the heart and soul. And I don't want to minimize what he brings because he's great. But I'm gonna say the quarterback and the center.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right on that one. And if we're gonna go over to the defense, I think the first obvious one is Fred Warner.
No question.
Beyond that, though, I think that's where things get really interesting. I don't even know where to go with this one.
I would say Jimmy Ward.
Yeah, it's got to be
someone
been on the
team
Jimmy
a long
Ward
time. He plays free safety. He's kind of a I mean, Nick Bosa could be, but he's coming off an injury. How much is he going to play? It could be Bosa, but Jimmy Ward's the longest tenured player on the team. I'm going to say Jimmy Ward. Jason Verrett could too.
That's
Jason
another
Verrett
guy.
Yeah,
I think he has a lot of respect from the guys in the locker room. I think that's the biggest thing. Those guys love Jason Verrett.
And he's got a very intense alpha personality that I think even the safeties don't have. I mean, he's yeah. So let's say Verrett and Warner.
Yeah,
good question. I like that. And I didn't mean to like poo-poo George Kittle. I just put him. I think of him in a different role.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That in every team, it's about filling your role, and I think he doesn't have to be a leader on this offense. That's what's cool now with Trey is he doesn't have to be. So.
Yeah, I don't think. What a person who fulfills Kittle's function as like the hype man can also be the leader. Like you have to bring the energy. The leader has to be kind of stoic. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong because Warner kind of does both. But okay, let's get Kittle in there too. Sorry, Kittle, I take it back. You're a leader. You're a leader. All right, let's keep predicting. I like these projections. Who will be the 49ers' most improved player in 2021?
Ooh, so I thought about this a little bit differently. I'm gonna cheat, Grant, because this is my topic.
That's fair.
The 2 players I thought about were potentially Eric Armstead or Ross Dwelly, but I'm going to go a completely different direction with this. I'm going to say the offensive line is going to be the most improved aspect of this team from 2020 to 2021. And it's because of something I said earlier. If you look at the run blocking grade versus the pass blocking grade, this team was so bad in pass protection last year. They're not going to be forced to be put in that situation as much this year, hopefully. So I think if they run the ball more, with the addition of Aaron Banks, with the addition of Alex Mack, it's going to create a stability along this offensive line that they haven't had almost this entire regime. I think the closest thing they got to that was 2019, but even then Joe Staley got hurt and they still had a lot of movement along that offensive line. So for me, if they can keep this unit cohesive, then yeah, this will be by far, I think, the most improved group out of all the 49ers position groups.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to go. I like how you did that. You switched it up a little bit with the group. Yeah. I'm going to go with a player.
Okay.
It's been hard. Ross Dwelley would be a great one. I wish it was Ross Dwelley. It should be Ross Dwelley. But I just don't, for whatever reason, him and Richie James just don't get the targets they deserve. And it's weird. And I don't get it. It's a Kyle thing. I don't know. If I could sit down with Kyle, I think if I had a one-on-one interview with Kyle Shanahan, the first question would be like, why don't you throw the ball to Ross Dwelley more? And then my follow-up would be like, yeah, but why don't you throw the ball to Ross Dwelley more? And I'd ask that 7 times and be like, well, thanks a lot. Kyle was really informative. So I'm not gonna predict Ross. I'm not gonna predict Richie. I'm gonna look on the defense. Okay. D'Amico Ryans is gonna have his own flavor on defense. He was a linebackers coach. Who's he gonna feature? Who's gonna be his secret weapon? We know with Robert Saleh, it was K'Wan Williams.
Right.
I think he's mentioned he wants to blitz more. A lot of times when you're blitzing, you're bringing linebackers, not nickelbacks. This guy was a linebacker coach, and he has personally developed Dre Greenlaw the last 2 years. Dre Greenlaw is a good player, but he's not really ever going to be special in coverage.
No.
Really in any, especially man-to-man. But that doesn't mean you can't blitz him.
No.
I mean, he's faster than Warner, I think. He's he's much shorter than Warner. He might be a little bit more equipped to slip through the cracks. He might have some potential as a blitzer that the Niners could unlock, specifically D'Amico Ryans. And if he ends up with 5, 6, 7 sacks, then absolutely he'll be the most improved player.
And I really like that because specifically D'Amico talked about putting this team in more base personnel with their coverage. So when you do that sort of stuff, and he's already talked about this too, he's going to have to create pressure in alternative ways. And the way you do that, like you said, is with linebackers, even with safeties. I think a guy I should have thought about for this award. And just as you were saying Greenlaw's name, I thought of Jaquiski Tart. You know, if he's able to stay healthy, I think he could really flourish in this D'Amico Ryans sort of defense to where they're going to be finding different ways to create pressure other than the pass rush. So when I think about that, and when you're mentioning with that, Jaquiski Tart stands out. And I think he'll get a lot more opportunity this year.
And also Javon Kinlaw, because he has law in his name like Greenlaw. And when you have Kinlaw and Greenlaw in the box together, it's a good combination. I didn't go with Kinlaw. I'd like Kinlaw as a player.
Yeah.
If you sign him in free agency, he'd be a good addition. If you drafted him in the back end of round 1, he'd be a good addition. But I just don't think he's ever going to be that real refined pass rusher. So I'm going Greenlaw. But he could be. I mean, if this dude ends up getting 8 sacks the way Kerry Hyder did last year, just kind of hustling and sticking with it, then yeah, I wouldn't write it off. He could do it. You don't have to be Nick Bosa to get 9 sacks in a season. I mean,
no.
If Eric Armstead could get 10, maybe Kinlaw could do it too, because they're very similar, very powerful.
Do it. I mean, you know, there will be opportunity for this team.
Will.
Another guy I want to mention, though, just going back to the offensive line, could be Mike Mcglinchey, because if we're talking about the offensive line and continuity, we're adding 2 pieces next to Mike Mcglinchey where there was all kinds of trouble last season. So I think it's just going to make his job a lot easier. So he could definitely be a most improved guy for next year.
That's a good segue to our last topic. It's similar, but it's different.
Right.
Who will be the 49ers comeback player? So to me, when we're talking in most improved, we're talking guys like Ross Dwelley, Dre Greenlaw, guys who are going from either backup or role player to star. Something like that. Taking a big leap. If comeback player is a guy who's been good, maybe fallen off, coming back. So I would say Eric Armstead would be a candidate. Mike Mcglinchey would be a candidate.
Yeah.
Yes. Jimmy Garoppolo would be a candidate.
Candidate. Yeah. But the guy I'm going to go with, and I kind of went more the way that the NFL goes with this route, because I like the way you're thinking about it. I think we're going to take 2 different angles, but I'm excited because I went with Debo. If we're talking about guys coming back from injury this year, I think Nick Bosa is the player people think of immediately, right? But when I think of Debo and the role he's going to have in this offense, I mean, there were only 4 games last season, I was looking this up, where it was Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle on the field at the same time. It's weeks like 4 through 7. So when Debo is going to be on the field with those 2 guys, if they're all on the field together, it's just going to make so many more matchup problems for this offense, and specifically for Debo, because Ayuk is going to be able to dominate down the field outside the numbers. Kittle's going to be doing his thing, of course, but now that they're creating all that pressure towards those guys, and the defense has to consider those guys so much, I think it'll create defensive matchup problems for Debo, to where their third best defender will be on him, or a defender they don't want will be on him. And I think with all the movement that Kyle Shanahan does, and with how he loves to deploy Debo, man, I just get really excited about his role in this offense, especially with the Trey offense. I know people have talked about how much he succeeds with Jimmy, but I think because of all the opportunity that's going to be created for those other guys, I think Debo is going to be a really big beneficiary of all that opportunity. And specifically, even last year, we talked about this on my stream a few weeks ago. There are all kinds of guys who had targets who aren't even on this team this year. Jordan Reed is an example. Jeff Wilson won't be available at the beginning of the year. Jerick McKinnon won't be available isn't on the team anymore. So the 49ers are going to have to find some way to get those targets to some of their players. So I think Debo and Ayuk are the prime candidates for those positions.
Good case. I admire your confidence in Debo Samuel's durability. I'm not there yet. I'm not going to pick any player who has had injury issues. So,
Bosa, and that's kind of where I was trying to go with this. So
I respect it. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm being conservative here. I'm just making a line.
I think if you're going about the award the way you're going about it, I'll be really interested to hear who you're going to say. But I think if we're considering the injury guys, I think Debo's probably the best candidate of all the injury guys to have that comeback player of the year type of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to explain where I'm coming from and why I'm not going to say Debo. I'm not going to say Nick Bosa, even though it could be. It very well could be Debo or Bosa. I'm not going to say Kittle.
Really interesting is like Nick Bosa is listed as the 5th best player for comeback player of the year odds. So there's certainly a lot of people who believe in him in that aspect.
Okay, not me. I think Nick Bosa is. I think his knees are not nearly as strong as his legs. I think his legs are super duper strong, and tendons inside, I'm not sure. Also, he is very reckless. Half the plays when he's rushing the quarterback, he ends up diving on the ground. It's admirable, but there's a lot of 300-pound people that could fall on you. He got rolled up on last year, not because he was diving, but no. I'm not going to say Bosa. I'm not going to say Debo. I'm not going to say Jimmy. I'm going to say someone who basically stays healthy most of the time and had a really bad year last year. I'm going to say Mike Mcglinchey.
Okay.
I'm going to say Mike Mcglinchey. Now, come back. I'm not saying he's going to blossom into a top flight right tackle, but I think he can regain what he was the first 2 years of his career, maybe even improve on that. Last year, he just came out and admitted basically what we saw, that he was not strong enough. He was underweight, and he says he's up to 320. He's really emphasized strength this year. Good.
And like you specifically talked about, Grant, and I know you can talk more about this, is he seemed to struggle like all players did last season with the constant moving from Arizona to California, right? Being in a hotel room all the time. I mean, I'm sure it took a toll on all of these guys, but Mcglinchey specifically spoke up on that issue. Yeah,
absolutely. So he's had a better offseason. He weighs what he needs to weigh. He's as strong as he should be. He hasn't gotten hurt. He doesn't have he's gotten hurt once, but he really doesn't. He's usually available. And
pretty durable.
This year, we know he's not great in pass protection, but at 320 pounds, if he's strong, he should be a real asset in the run game, which is what they want the emphasis of the offense to be. And when it's time to pass the ball, it couldn't hurt that he finally has a quarterback who can protect himself. It doesn't mean that his pass protection is going to improve, but maybe he'll just give up less sacks. He could be the comeback player of the year.
And he could be up for a contract extension this next offseason. So this could certainly be a situation.
He's in a contract year, is he not?
I believe he has the 5th-year option. So that'll be after this year.
True.
But I think the 49ers could have the opportunity to extend him in the offseason. But Grant,
if he doesn't play better this year, though, there's no guarantee they pick up that 5th year. Have they picked it up?
Well, so that's the thing. You have to pick it up 2 years ahead of time. So they've already picked it up. Like when you were earlier this offseason, right? Yeah. Well, and the only thing I do want to mention with the 5th-year option, and this is something I found interesting, which I didn't discover until like last week. When they pay those guys the 5th-year option, it's the top 10 average of the highest paid at the position. So you're going to be paying that guy a lot of money. So with Mike Mcglinchey, he's going to have to emphasize that he's worth that kind of money for next year, right? So for all those reasons, and because of his play last season, because people constantly making fun of him online, he's got to be more motivated than anyone to have a great season on this team.
That's right. That's right. Mike, I'm picking you. I'm picking you to be the comeback player of the year, and I mean it sincerely. I think last year was a perfect storm of bad things for you. He seemed sincere. Like, it was very hard when the pandemic hit to find a place to work out, to find a place to get food. Some people did better than others. That was always going to be an issue. Like, all of a sudden, all these NFL players have to set up their own home gyms. George Kittle did a good job, although he broke his foot. So who knows? Maybe, I mean, all these people had to basically work out without supervision. It didn't work out for some people. Now, Mike has been there. He's been under supervision. He's weighing when he needs to weigh. He's always going to have his strengths and weaknesses, but
yeah,
I think he could be the comeback player of the year. And if he is, the Niners could have a real good offensive line. So, Mike,
could certainly
good luck.
return to form this season. I think that's the thing. He doesn't have to be one of the best 10 offensive linemen in the league. He just has to be close to what he was in 2019 to justify that fifth-year option for this team.
That's right. And that's our show. We're up against an hour. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Ben, fabulous debut. Fabulous debut column. If you don't follow Ben on Twitter, do that. If you don't subscribe to his YouTube channel, do that. If you don't read All 49ers SI, do that.
Do that.
You're missing out. Do that. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'm going to be back 5:30 today with more All 49ers writers. Waruna, Jack Hammer, Maverick Palak, Nick Newman, Dudes, 5:30, and then 7 with Jesse Naylor. See you guys. Thank you very much.
See you guys later.